Good morning from Uzbekistan. This is our second country on our Central Asian trip, and we're gonna spend the next 9 days here exploring this beautiful country. We're gonna go to Bukhara, Samarkand, these ancient cities on the Silk Road. But first, we're starting in Uzbekistan's capital city, Tashkent. Our first stop today is the Hazrati Imam complex. This square here in Tashkent is probably not as grand as the ones in Bukhara and Samarkand, but coming here for the first time, seeing this Uzbek architecture in person, I'm already seriously impressed and in awe. Just look at every single detail, carving, painting on these buildings. It's all super stunning. One of the major buildings inside this complex is the Barak Khan Madrasa, but now when we come inside, it's pretty much all souvenir shops. The most famous thing in this square is the oldest Quran in the world, but unfortunately you're not allowed to film it or take any photos. So if you want to visit, it's inside this small building and it costs 40,000 soom per person to enter. I think the centerpiece of this complex is definitely the Hazrati Imam Mosque. The mosque itself is not too tall or grand, but of course it still has a spectacular design, especially when we look up at its ceiling. We've been to many mosques on our travels already, but everywhere we go, the style and design of the mosque is completely different. This is different from the ones in Turkey, different from the ones in Malaysia. My favorite element of this mosque is its light blue color scheme, similar to the colors on the Uzbekistan flag.
感觉走进来就是一种非常的华丽，极其的繁复，但是又因为它的配色，觉得心里非常的平静。 真是极致的美学。
After a short morning tour of the complex, it's time to have lunch. For our first meal in Tashkent, we're here at one of the most famous restaurants and tourist sites, the Besh Qozon Central Asian Plov Center. It's like this whole factory making Uzbekistan's most famous dish, pilaf or plov. Look at the size of this thing. So insane. For those who don't know, plov is a rice dish typically cooked in one giant pot, a qozon. It's served with onions, carrots, and plenty of spices. The meat choice is usually lamb, but it's also commonly made with beef. Before we try the dish, we need to take a look at how it's made here, because it really is incredible to watch. The kitchen here is so hectic. The staff is cooking, but at the same time, it's an open kitchen, so tourists are allowed to walk around inside and observe this environment. It's like some sort of organized chaos. Even though this kitchen feels very chaotic, somehow it still operates like clockwork. Everyone is very professional at their station. They know exactly what to do, so much technique involved, and they can still bring out every single dish really, really quickly. Just look at that. Everything in here is cooked with wood and fire. So standing here, it's actually very, very hot. Check out that rice sitting in this pool of oil. But it's okay. Fat is flavor. And now finally, let's sit down and eat some plov. We ordered one of their special sets. The set includes a tandir naan, achichuk, which is a tomato salad, and of course, the plov. When we put it into Google Translate, they said it's their wedding plov. There's some quail eggs, some meat on top. I think this might be a horse meat sausage. Okay, let's try this plov. The lamb flavor is extremely strong. I'm allergic to lamb, so I think I might have to take some allergy medicines after this, but it's still really delicious.
因为它这边的油还是挺重的，所以它的米就可以呈现出这种粒粒分明的口感。
Since the plov here has so many different ingredients inside other than the rice, it gives it different textures. The rice has that chewy texture, but then the other ingredients inside, such as the carrots and the chickpeas, those give it that mushy texture. So altogether, it's a really delicious bite. And if I'm not mistaken, this one over here should be a kazi, the horse meat sausage. We had horse meat in Kazakhstan already, so this won't be our first time. But for a foreigner, it's still quite a strange thing to eat. Here goes. It's actually really delicious, wow. A little bit salty, sort of like cured meat. If you just look at it on the plate and don't know what it is, you're probably mistaken it for beef or lamb. So yeah, the plov here is definitely really delicious, but because it's so oily, it's quite a heavy dish. I don't think I can have it every single day in Uzbekistan. Another thing part of the set is naan. It looks like a bread or cake sort of thing. It's really, really hard. Extremely firm, really dense piece of bread. It sort of tastes like a bagel. Personally, not a fan, but maybe it goes well with the tea.
一小小块就非常的顶饱，感觉我们还能再探索一下有没有别的好吃的馕。
Even though this wasn't our favorite dish, it's still great to see that the naans are freshly made in-house instead of bought from another vendor. Overall, a great first meal for our Uzbekistan trip. And now it's time to go visit a popular destination in its own right, the Tashkent Metro. The Tashkent Metro is one of two metro systems in Central Asia. The other one is in Almaty, but this one is way bigger than the one in Almaty. And supposedly has some of the most beautiful metro stations in the world. So right now we're gonna go check out a few of them. Opened in 1977, the Tashkent Metro feels more like an underground art gallery rather than just a train system. Up until 2018, no photos or videos were allowed in the metro because it also serves as a bomb shelter and thus is a military complex.
现在很多地铁站都已经趋于更加现代简洁的设计，这种古典又有一点繁复精致的风格很少见了。
Now, as the country opened up, the world can finally see these incredible metro stations. Obviously, we're not going to visit all of them today, but we'll definitely check out some of the most famous ones. This station over here is decorated by pictures of astronauts.
我觉得阿利申纳博这个地铁站是最好看的。一下来呢，就会看到它的地铁上面有蓝色的穹顶。一般这种景象，你可能都会以为它是在一个清真寺或者在一个博物馆，但是放在一个地铁站，真的是有点过于的精美了。
You can actually take the Tashkent Metro directly with your credit card, but weirdly, the MasterCard and the Visa price is different. With my MasterCard, it's 1,020 soom, which is insanely cheap. I mean, this might be the cheapest subway I've ever taken. But on Visa, it costs 1,725 soom. So just pay a small fee, come inside, look at these stations. I mean, you can literally spend hours just exploring the subway system here. Every single station has its own unique design. Every single station is like walking through a mini museum, walking through a mini palace. It's so incredible.
我们现在到了塔什干非常中心的这个区域铁木尔广场，它当时是想要复兴成吉思汗建立的这个蒙古帝国，当时也是处于一个混战的年代吧。它在常年的征战中呢，就建立起了一个很强大的铁木尔帝国。之后我们就会去萨马尔罕看一下它留下的这些辉煌的遗产。它的背后还有一个非常苏式的建筑——乌兹别克斯坦酒店。 看起来像蜂巢一样，稍微有些许的密孔，但是非常的庄重的一个设计。
Something quite strange on this trip is that when we were in Almaty, Kazakhstan, and here in Tashkent, there are many of these university students who come up to us and ask us random interview questions. They say it's for a university project. This is the 4th time this has happened already. I'm not sure if this is a common university assignment for these countries.
After a short city walk in the afternoon, we're a bit tired.
The weather today is warmer than expected, so we stopped by this park to have some gelato. The 2 cups added together, it's only 50,000 soom, which is pretty affordable. But I think the strawberry flavor is not that good, so I don't suggest it. The Oreo flavor and the cookie flavor are really good. I don't know why, we both made the mistake and we both ordered strawberry flavor, and it's probably the worst one.
Day 2 in Uzbekistan, and we have one more day in the capital.
For our first stop today in Tashkent, we made it over to the Chorsu Bazaar. This bazaar is really interesting because it's shaped like a circle. So this whole market is underneath a giant dome. Just like any of these bazaars in the world, it's super hectic. I think the ground floor is still mainly for locals because they sell meat and vegetables.
2楼这个区域就是卖各种干果啊、坚果啊这样的东西。2楼可能是开放给游客比较多，因为我们走过的时候就已经有很多人来让我们去尝他们摊位的东西，去买他们的东西。
It does get a little bit overwhelming when everybody is here shouting at you. There's less of that on the first floor, maybe because the vendors know that tourists probably won't come here to buy a giant rack of lamb. Compare this to the Green Bazaar in Almaty. It's not as organized, it's not as neat. On the first floor, you can smell that strong beef and lamb smell. But I do feel this atmosphere is more unique because you can feel that local nature. So it's not a bazaar, not a market completely targeted for tourism, which is good. While the indoor portion of the market is mainly for meat, outdoors they sell fruits, vegetables, and other random ingredients.
On the outside of the market, there's also a section filled with street food. I'm guessing by all the smoke, the main thing to eat here is shashlik. Just standing here, even though it's a bit hard to breathe, I can still smell that grilled meat. So let's choose a spot, sit down, and see what sort of dishes they serve here.
For lunch here at the Chorsu market, we're gonna attempt to try some Uzbek street food. But the only slight problem is that the people here do not speak any English at all. So it's really hard to communicate.
这感觉是过于 local， 我们只能用仅有的一点点俄语储备，再加上谷歌翻译，才跟店员解释一下我们想要什么东西。但是他们感觉人都还蛮 nice， 大家就是努力的沟通了一下。
Honestly, I'm not quite sure if we ordered correctly or not. But either way, our shashlik is here. I think they gave us what we wanted. 1 beef shashlik and 1 chicken shashlik. And of course, it's always served with lots of onions on top. This entire hall is filled with so much smoke. You can smell this grilled shashlik from very far away. To be honest, all I smell here is the grilled shashlik. So I'm gonna try some of this beef shashlik right now. And of course, gotta add some of the onions to it too. I love the spices and the seasoning on it. You can taste that cumin, so tender meat as well. These shashlik are always grilled with lamb fat, so I think that also gives it an extra juiciness.
好香啊！我觉得都已经算是我吃过最好的烤串之一了，而且它的肉给的超级的大块。
We only ordered 2, but we see the other tables the locals eating here, they order like a whole plate of these, like at least 5 or 6. Other than the shashlik, we also got this dish, which is called a nori. I think it has some thin noodles on top, and then also horse meat. It's a cold noodle dish, kind of like a horse meat salad. Yeah, we're gonna try this. It looks like it's seasoned with some pepper, and that's it. There's also some onions on top, just like the onions that come with the shashlik. Let's try it. The flavor of the horse meat is not strong at all. You can barely taste it. But the noodles are really chewy. They're like really thinly knife-cut noodles.
我们又发掘了它的新吃法，看到邻桌的人是把这个 nori 放到汤里面吃的哦，那就变成了汤面。It's not bad actually.
I feel like eating in a place like this, it's hard to ask them how we're supposed to eat the dish since they don't understand us at all. So we just have to carefully observe what the other locals are doing. I think I might prefer this as a soup dish. Okay, we just finished the meal. It costed us 100,000 soom altogether. I'm not sure if that's a reasonable price or not, but at least it feels okay. There's no menus or anything telling us the prices, and it's all locals eating here, and they seem to be very sure what they're ordering and how much it's supposed to cost. But either way, I still really enjoyed this experience. It felt like we were immersed into local culture, especially when the people here don't understand you at all. I don't think I can stand in this street any longer because of all this smoke. This market really is a lot bigger than I expected. It's not just that one building over there. The whole outdoor section is really massive. After lunch, we went and got some fruit. Since communication is super difficult here, we thought of a strategy. We gave them a bill, which is the amount we were willing to pay, and see how much fruit they give us. So we gave them a 20,000 soom bill, and the vendor gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 oranges.
The Chorsu Bazaar is a more traditional side of Tashkent, but now it's time to head somewhere that feels completely different.
We made our way over to the Tashkent City Park. This is like the most modern area in Tashkent. It's probably the most expensive area of Tashkent as well. But surprisingly, there's no one here, maybe because the weather is not so great right now. Over here, there's a giant pool, which I think has a nice fountain show in the evening, but I don't think we're gonna wait until nighttime. This park really doesn't look like Tashkent anymore, but it does show that besides the old traditional architecture and the more Soviet-influenced architecture, Tashkent is still a modern 21st century metropolis. We're here inside Tashkent City Mall to check out the fanciest mall in Tashkent, and I can't believe they have Xingfu Tang here. Inside this store, they have a super beautiful mosaic on display. Really gives this very popular Taiwanese store an Uzbek flair to it. Another very interesting thing you'll notice in Tashkent is that over 90% of the cars here are Chevrolets. Whenever you order like a Yandex or just even look at the street, they're literally all Chevrolets. We just walked here into a random parking lot, and out of all the cars here, I think there's only like 2 or 3 cars that are not Chevrolets. The reason that people drive Chevrolets here is that the Chevrolets are actually made in Uzbekistan, so the prices are very, very cheap. This one brand of car is pretty much the entire Uzbek auto industry.
Day 3 in Uzbekistan, and today we're saying goodbye to Tashkent. For many visitors, Tashkent serves more as a gateway to the rest of the country rather than a destination itself. For me, the frantic Plov centers and the bustling bazaars were highlights, but what I loved the most were the magnificent metro stations. In the end, I think Uzbekistan's capital is still very much worth visiting, even if it's just for a short day or two. Up next, we're heading to the ancient Silk Road cities of Bukhara and Samarkand, so be sure to subscribe to JH Medium for more Uzbekistan travel videos coming soon. See you in Bukhara.